boys and ghouls. How are
Oh,
you today? This is the Interjections podcast where we cover hidden gems from the 1990s. We'll be talking about our very first horror film today. Okay, I don't know about that.
That's
very first for the
horrifying.
podcast?
Those
For
are
the podcast.
We
You're
made it
talking
this
about
far
even
without a horror.
destruction.
Well, we had a lot of thrillers, and
Even destructions are
yeah, it's technically a horror.
horrible.
It's
dude.
kind of a
Oh.
sci-fi, you could argue. It's a Terminator film, though that's kind of a horror too. So who knows? I don't know.
comedy, horror, comedy, sci-fi, Terminator.
Action, thriller.
So in
It's-
fact, we have another horror film today. It's January 1995. We're in the second half of our podcast,
Woo!
which is pretty exciting. I didn't expect to get this far. Such faith I had in us. But I also have something else new for you this month. I know we had our picker wheel last year, but it often had a lot of ads in front of it. So I thought maybe it was a good idea to try a different one.
We don't want to give people free advertising,
That's not a good thing.
but if you want to sponsor us,
Yeah.
please.
I have this new picker wheel that I'll show you now. I can see where I'm going. Look at this.
What?
Hell yeah. Got a nice little rainbow going there.
So many colors, and we're all the barrel has been reloaded.
Uh-huh. So let's see who gets the honor of picking or of discussing what the plot of this movie is. Oh, that would have been better. Oh well. Do you want to pass the mask to you, Jeff?
I knew it was gonna be Jeff.
Oh boy! So
I knew it was going to be a J. It's 50% chance.
yeah,
J name.
That's right.
I
That's
will
true.
just pretend. You can just Photoshop the mask in me and post.
That's fine. I'll just
Or put the
watch
cat
it.
face on them.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Right, exactly. Do you still have that filter like that lawyer? Well, anyway, so imagine if Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was a trashy horror movie, and that's basically the starting point for this movie. All right, so William Sadler plays this dude who's on the run from presumably the law, we don't know, and he's just like this shady, almost Terminator-like character, and he finds a little shelter in the middle of nowhere that was an old church that turned into a hotel slash brothel situation, as you do. And in that locale, he finds this cast of characters who are just, who's this mysterious stranger? Whatever, as long as his money's good as the rest of them. But while he's staying there, some weird things start to happen, and other strange folk start going after him, including 2 county police officers and a strange man played by Billy Zane, who is actually after his soul.
Yeah, it's a
To a
soul.
point. It's his soul. So, and Billy Zane plays like it's almost like a Beetlejuice without the makeup sort of thing. Like he's just all these fantasy, mind-bending, telepathic seduction scenes just to get what he wants. And it's really trippy. And then Jada Pinkett was one of the occupants of this hotel, and she gets strung along for the ride. Thomas Hayden Church plays the lowball villain who's just like the bully of everyone, and I think he was with Jada.
No, he's
Right.
with Cordelia, the
With
whore.
Cordelia, another occupant who
Is a whore.
is a whore. Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
I was trying to be.
A prostitute.
I was
Trying
trying
to
to
be
be.
lady of the night.
I was trying to be more subtle about
A
it than
working
the movie
lady.
was. She was
Wow.
she worked in the world's oldest profession and suffered the consequences as victims do in that.
The reason I'm wearing this mask is because I don't know if anyone watching this would remember, because you could be very young, it could be forgettable. I never watched this as a kid, but you'll see in Cory's background, there was a skeleton that would often introduce this TV show called Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
And in January 1995, they decided to, well, they made it in 94, but they premiered their first theatrical feature, Demon Knight, this film.
I was getting there.
And they, well, I wanted to do the other part of it, because you're describing the plot of the actual thing. They'd often have a story. It was kind of like Twilight Zone for horror, specifically. And they ended up doing a couple of films, but they wanted to do many more, and those 2 were not successful enough. I don't know if you know more history of it, Cory, because you're a bigger fan.
They made a third movie, which is called Ritual, but it was direct to DVD, and the budget was cut way down, and I don't think it really has anybody of note in it. But other than that, they tried to do a revival with M. Night Shyamalan producing, I think maybe like 5-6 years ago, and that never got off the ground.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and
I never even knew that.
we talked about a kind of Tales from the Crypt adjacent movie last year with Death Becomes Her, because it's got that kind of pulpy, EC comic kind of vibe to it, and it's also from Zemeckis, who produced
And Bob
Tales.
Gale.
Yeah, the show itself had a lot of celebrity cameos. Even they got celebrities to start their directorial careers with stuff like this. I remember one episode was actually directed by Schwarzenegger.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Now we need to find out which one. No, how long were the regular episodes? Because it was like an anthology series, but was it like a movie of the week type thing, or was it like
It was almost like a mini movie, yeah.
okay, so like short films each week?
Pretty
Probably
much.
like 90 minutes, about this length.
Yeah, I think
right?
they're
Or, 45 minutes without commercials.
Sure.
So
it was on HBO, so there were no commercials.
True.
Oh,
That's right. That's why I never saw it. I didn't have HBO until I moved in with you, Jimmy.
I guess I was catching reruns on like regular TV after they got the rights.
Yeah, wasn't it on TBS? We said last
Yeah,
episode.
thought it was on
that's
Fox.
where they were trying to relaunch it with M. Night Shyamalan.
Mm.
I don't know if that would have worked, because the thing is, like, it's bookended by, trashy director, animatronic skeleton.
Yeah.
And even though like his puns are bad, I don't think M. Night Shyamalan could do the campiness justice.
Well, they've tried
Like
other
this.
horror anthologies. He should do his own version of
Right.
Tales from the Crypt, like M. Night Shyamalan Presents, like Alfred Hitchcock used to do. That would be
Right,
more
exactly.
significant.
That's basically what this was if
This
Alfred
is a
Hitchcock
parody.
was an animatronic skeleton.
And the reason it was on HBO is because they could get away with all the nudity and violence that they want. And I don't know if you can do that.
Yes. 45 seconds in.
Well, we're watching with
Yes.
your boys.
Yes. Watching with the kids and 45 seconds.
I'm sorry.
They're teenagers, so it's fine. But
But they were
45
definitely
seconds in,
like, why am
there's-
I seeing this with you,
they're
Jeff?
topless. I'm like, hey man, it's HBO.
It's time to bond, I guess.
Right,
Not
exactly.
TV, it's HBO.
Point being, it was like a spoof of those movie of the week, Vincent Price, Alfred Hitchcock type.
But there's a
Shows.
shower scene right away.
But the shower scene is a fake out, because the shower scene is the movie within the movie and then like, so they pull out of that and then go into like what the actual movie is, and then it's bookended by the premiere of the actual movie.
You know what? They do something that you've never seen in any of the shows before. The Crypt Keeper is usually sedentary because he's a puppet.
Oh, yeah.
You see him get up from the director's chair and walk over and yell cut.
They're like, we've got feature film budget money now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a little awkward, but, whatever. It works for the campiness of Tales from the
Speaking of
Crypt.
celebrity cameos, John Lurks.
Who bigger than that year's Golden Globe host,
Exactly.
John Larroquette?
Uncredited John
Yeah.
Larroquette.
Yeah. You remember John Larroquette, right, Jimmy?
No.
Vincent Van Gogh
Night
from
Court.
Richie Rich.
Aren't you a huge fan of Night Court with me?
Yeah. What about
You
know
sorry.
you saw
Chainsaw?
Richie Rich, right? He was the bad guy in Richie Rich.
Legitimately, did you ever see Richie Rich?
Jimmy? Have
Did.
you seen Texas Chainsaw?
Oh yeah, I've seen Texas Chainsaw.
He's the narrator at the beginning.
Oh, is
There
he
you go.
now?
Yeah.
There you go.
He was
Yeah,
also
too
in the
bad I don't
Broadway-
remember his voice.
Yeah. I don't know.
He was also in the Broadway revival of How to Succeed in Business Without Really
I
Trying.
saw him
But-
on Broadway in The Best Man.
Nice.
He's
Was
a
he the
decent
best?
actor,
Oh,
but he was
decent.
obviously bigger at the time in 1995. That's about like the end of his popularity.
Womp womp.
But yeah, anyway,
we love a good John Larroquette.
right.
But
So the actual movie within the movie, as Jeff pointed out, has a interesting chamber piece sort of thing. It very quickly ends up in that one boarding house, and then it's sort of an onslaught. How did you feel about the demons themselves? That's a question I had for Ellie. I thought they were a little too goopy. I wanted to like things to differentiate. Like if he's a collector, he should have a variety of demons, not just like goop zombies.
I like how they basically
Maybe
have
that's
play
the level of
demons.
demon he is. That's all he can get.
that
I
was
like how
really
they're
cool.
spawned.
Sure. Yeah, that was cool.
He cuts his hand and basically sprays his bioluminescent blood everywhere.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
like groundlings. They come out from the ground, so that was kind of
They're
cool.
like
Yeah. That's the coolest part of them.
They're like chewing on glow sticks.
I did like his dream sequences because he's a little bit of a Freddy Krueger where he can come into people's minds and just manipulate them with their deepest desires. Like Jada Pinkett obviously wants to get out of her life and she's hot enough, she could be a model or a singer or popular. And so he tempts her with that. He gets Uncle Willie to go to like a beach cabana with all these hot topless women and
Yeah,
you know,
Plays
so
Uncle Willie, by the way,
Dick
Dick
Yeah.
Miller.
who was in a lot of Roger Corman movies. So
We did
Okay.
have him before. What was the thing I said he was in before?
was he in?
Gremlins too.
Yeah, no, that's not the one we
He,
covered.
he wasn't in Tremors, right? No, that was.
He was in Matinee in a cameo, and then he was the
yeah.
You know,
was the
Joe
guy-
Donovan.
he was the impound lot owner in Unlawful Entry.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, he had a cameo in both of them basically.
But yeah. So real quick, the other people that live in this hostile situation, they got Dick Miller playing Uncle Willie, who's just the alcoholic old man. Who's CCH Pounder plays Irene, who's like I think she's just
She's
the
the owner of
proprietor,
the-
I think. Yeah,
she's-
she's the owner of the place.
Yeah, yeah. She's a
She runs
significant
the
TV
establishment.
actor.
Right.
She was on NCIS Louisiana, I think. New
Or
Orleans.
is it NCIS Louisiana? I don't know. There's so many of those shows.
There's a lot of those. Maybe LA. I don't know. There are a lot of them. I think it was LA because it was LA, and I thought, oh, that means Louisiana.
But then a couple of smaller.
Roger Rabbit's in there.
Yeah, Charles Fleischer
Yes.
is the guy that's creeping on the whore.
Oh, the guy that
He's the
was about to go postal
He's
but
a
never
troll.
He's the nice guy. Like
Mhm.
he's the incel of the gang.
He's
And
a
he looks
a
like what did I
postman.
describe him as? Andre the regular sized dude.
And I was
like-
like, he's sad Bob Ross because he shaved.
Right. He's like if Andre the Giant was 5'7",
Yeah.
Bob Ross if he shaved.
I had no idea what Charles Fleischer looked like, so that's kind of cool to see him in a live
nice.
action role. Yeah, he did a lot of voiceover work. I actually had a significant fun fact. You know, there's the kid that's in Demon Knight that runs around. He's like the diner owner's kid.
Yeah.
He ended up becoming a voice actor, and you'll like this because you just watched it, Cory. He's Terry McGinnis's younger brother in Batman Beyond.
No.
Oh wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that kid grew up to do a bunch of voice work, but that's I think his most significant, at least that I know of. But he has an extensive list, so.
You know, it's weird. He kind of looked like a doppelganger for a young William Sadler.
Mm,
Kind of looked like William
Yeah.
Sadler. I thought he was his kid.
I could see that. Yeah.
Which adds an interesting twist to it all.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Yeah,
thinking
well,
about that, it's a little misdirection.
I don't know how you guys felt, but I thought Billy Zane was enjoyably hammy.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Oh,
he was
for
a great
sure.
villain.
He understood the assignment.
Like, and also like this is around the time that he filmed The Phantom, right?
Yeah, that's his next
Because he's
thing.
bald, because he had to
Yeah.
shave his head to fit in that costume.
Yeah, and then unfortunately he never
Now
got
he's
his
just
hair
bald.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he knew he was going to be bald. Would he have ever done that? Because he
think
has
he
such
may-
a beautiful head of hair.
I think maybe he was just like, you know what? There's this intermediate period of my hair growing back that I just don't like, and I'm not going to deal with it. So like, I feel like he just stuck with the baldness because like, yeah, no, why not? This is my thing now.
Now,
yeah.
it was interesting
I know.
because they do a little switcheroo because you think that William Sadler is going to play the villain based on his resume.
And his look in the
And-
beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's kind of the drifter.
he doesn't look like the ideal heroic figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He-
kind of
he
pretty
do-
cool.
He doesn't strike you as a demon knight, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that's meant to be like, because it's a knight, obviously the collector's the demon. Is he supposed to be the demon knight that you're warding off, or is William Sadler cursed by Jesus's blood, so therefore he is a demon knight warding off other demons?
I
think
think
it's
it's
Latin.
a mixture of both, as well as the mushrooms these writers
Yes.
were on.
The answer is
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
You know what they ended up writing? Kung Fu Panda.
That tracks, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Given
They're the
amount
ones
of
that came
kung
up with the
fu in this
story.
movie, right? But yeah, that's the other important thing is like the whole reason that Billy Zane is after this guy is because he has this bottle that looks like a key that has this mysterious substance that keeps the demons at bay. So he like pours it on a windowsill and it makes a whole gate, and then the demons can't get through it or they'll explode. And then through a series of traumatizing flashbacks,
Hmm.
whenever someone touches him, like it flashes back to the crucifixion and like some dude just like catching Jesus's blood like Kool-Aid, and it's just on a hot summer day. So you find out that it's like this miraculous / cursed blood that is protecting them, and then through what like whoever is carrying this bottle has to keep it safe until the next person comes along.
Yeah, no,
who
basically
the universe deems willing.
each carrier of this like they call it the key. They have like tattoos on their hands, like or brands. There's branded into their hand with like 7 stars, and they align. That's when like the shit goes down, and like apparently they have to bump into 6 other people, so 7 total, and like all of them have to be tempted by a demon or whatever, and whoever isn't is the next one to carry on the task.
Kind
So
of
then like
sucks.
so like
Because you know you're about to die when those stars
yeah,
align.
so like
Yeah.
so when the previous carrier of the key like passes off, I guess they have to die because they have to refill it with their blood.
I'm sorry,
So
I actually liked this
yeah,
plot.
so isn't
That's a
just
cool
It
idea.
was an
Jesus,
interesting
so
No,
it's like
it's good.
each
I like
carrier.
it.
So
I kind of
gotta
want to
be-
see the World War One chamber piece where they're in the trenches and this Spanish soldier finds like 6 other people
You
that are
mean-
in the trenches.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
German.
He might have been German. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, no, that was definitely German. Spain didn't fight.
He sounded Spanish, so I thought it might be like the Spanish Revolution in the
No.
30s.
The year was 1917. It said so at the
We
bottom.
found that out later.
Maybe the would correct you
The
on
Spanish shit happened in the 20s.
I'm just a
Jimmy's-
guy.
Jimmy's our war researcher.
Yeah.
He's the military historian of the group.
Yeah.
So
And he knows about when incubuses were present and when they weren't. Okay.
That's true.
as a result, like whoever's carrying this is also immortal until.
Oh, yeah,
big
that
event
too. That was a
happens.
fun gimmick.
That's the thing, is because he looks like he's in his 30s, but he's been around since World War One. So yeah, that was a cool little thing.
Had a 10 Little Indians kind of vibe to it.
Hmm.
I liked how you couldn't quite predict who was gonna go because characters you thought would maybe be preserved till the end died prematurely.
Yeah, I thought Cordelia was going to last a little longer, but
Oh no,
That
I
sort of
picked
makes sense.
her for first one to die after the sheriff.
yeah, it's actually the sheriff,
Yeah.
the first one. That was kind of
Yeah, the
surprising. I
sheriff's the
thought
first one,
deputy
but
would've-
that's supposed to be like the
He
surprise.
his head
Right.
punched
So-
off.
Yeah,
So
that
you
was
can-
pretty crazy. It sort of gets into a pretty obvious order after that. I was surprised that the deputy actually sacrifices himself at the same time as Irene, the CCH founder character, because he could have
Yeah,
been a
no.
little further away.
It's kind of funny because like you start seeing him as a buffoon early on and like an incompetent police officer, and like finally when it comes time to like put up or shut up, he put up. So like for an incompetent buffoon, he was actually a good cop.
Mm-hmm.
In one bad
Which is good.
situation.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, 7 guys, seven people.
Seven
Yeah,
folks in a
that is-
bad
mm,
situation.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the ending?
What part of it?
How they actually defeat Billy Zane?
That was pretty cool.
How it ties in. Well,
I was kind of surprised that she came up with that to cover herself in the blood.
yeah, it was like a
Um,
reverse Predator thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Jada Pinkett is more significant in the cast, so they had to choose someone that was going to take over the role of Demon Knight. William Sadler kind of chose her because I think you're supposed to have some kind of like questionable past. It'll be passed on to someone that's sort of like it's because the original person that got the blood was another thief, like the two
Yeah.
that are next to Jesus. So I think they're supposed to be like someone that overcomes their demons.
Right.
So,
There it
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I don't know if you got this feeling too, but for a hot second, I thought he was going to go with Thomas Hayden Church's character because he has
God,
he has a bit of a redemption arc halfway through.
He
Not
pretends
really.
to.
It wasn't enough to, right? But that's why I was just like, is he gonna try to? Is he gonna
Sorry, I
go
was a
next?
total asshole before, but I'm definitely not anymore. Trust me.
I'm good. I'm good. Well, it was the 80s. That was how you handled.
Yeah.
That was how you resolved conflicts. I'm totally not an asshole anymore. I swear.
I mean,
Full
he had
credits.
smoldering nipples. He was out of his mind.
That's true. Yeah.
You know?
Ju-
He didn't
just
get
to-
his kink off.
Just to go back to the Jada Pinkett Smith's bit, I had a feeling that she was going to end up being in a good spot in the movie early on because I had a vibe about the fact that she was chasing around her cat
Mm,
all the time, and like I got like Sigourney Weaver from Aliens vibe. So it's just
Cool.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
and especially with her short hair like that. So it's like,
That's a good point.
why not? And then she ended up in her underwear running around the
Yeah, I
Also
got
true.
no it's about
running
that.
around not a spaceship.
As most badass female protagonists in 80s sci-fi movies often end up.
You know, we're in the 90s,
Because
right, Chef?
nowadays,
Whatever.
nowadays she's
It
getting
was-
like
yeah, we
My-
knew
Second
we were in
half
the-
of the 90s now.
we were in the 90s, but the the writers of this movie very much
You
were
see,
still in the
you
80s.
see, we might
Trying to
actually be in
keep it alive.
1995, but in Jeff's head, we're in 980, like instead of 80 after, like
The
80, like
Nice
after the
try.
80s.
The internet, everything exists at the same time, which is why we exist as curators of the past to make sure we're on the same
We're
same
archives.
page. And that the
Arbiters of
90s
the abyss.
and that the 90s are
Yeah.
not forgotten, including by me.
Sure, there you go. Nice out.
Thank you.
I thought Jada Pinkett was actually. I know she's in semi-retirement. I feel like from acting, 'cause she does the Red Table Talks.
Yeah, I think it's just been a while since she had
She's actually-
anything.
She's very affable in the movie. I think she's.
Yeah, she obviously showed some promise around this time. So I think she had an interesting career.
She was even the best part of that horrible Keenen Ivory Wayans Low Down Dirty Shame.
Yeah, the first thing I saw her in was Nutty Professor the next year, so I didn't really know her.
Oh my God, she wasn't.
Yeah.
And they
She was-
recast her with Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
See,
That's right. Interestingly, she was supposed to be the girlfriend on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the one that ends up with Will Smith, Nia Long's character. But Nia Long, I don't know if she had a better audition or something. So obviously she and Will ended up knowing each other. But yeah, I know you like her from the Matrix movies, Jeff.
Yeah, that was my first memorable introduction to her. Like that was where I recognized her from later on when I saw her. I was like, oh, it's the chick from the Matrix.
Yeah, I think she had a good career.
I do remember Nutty Professor now. She's been all over the place.
I haven't seen it since '96.
Real quick, going back to the plot for a moment.
Okay.
What?
okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to be
Say-
punchy.
No, all right, fine, be punchy, but this is relevant, especially with our viewing situation. So she covers herself in blood to like keep him away, right?
Mhm.
But then like she doesn't know what else to do, and then presumably she has drank some of the blood, and then she somehow holds it in until the very end. There's a huge fight, and then she spits in his face, and then that magical blood that she spat on him is what killed him. And so the boys that we were watching with were like, wait a minute, so she killed him with Haktua? And I'm like, I'm
Yep.
kicking you off the internet, we're done.
Yeah, basically.
And I'm like, what? They're not wrong.
So there's your
No, they're not.
intergenerational
But
conclusion.
that's the connection here. That was what they
Jeff,
got
you're
out of
raising
this
these kids wrong,
cinematic
Jeff.
masterpiece. I'm not. Listen,
What's going on?
it's the goddamn internet.
I'd block that from my memory from
I heard the
5 days ago.
No, you can't block it from anything though, because she just scammed people.
I was
out
gonna
of
say,
millions
I
of
heard in
dollars
the
in
next
crypto.
movie, in the sequel, they were gonna have her set up a Bitcoin
There you go.
to get
Right, yeah,
everybody
exactly.
in one
Yeah.
location.
I actually would
Anyway.
watch a sequel to this
Yeah,
with her.
She's gonna have a Beelzebub NFT.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
30 years
Well-
later. It could kind of be the end of her journey, you know?
this is.
I think that'd be cool.
this
Yeah,
is
really
the
did
age.
better, maybe.
This is the age of people and re-entering their characters 30 years later. So
I mean, no one's chomping at the bit for a Demon Knight sequel, but I actually think if done well enough, it could be nice and campy. And I like this kind of style.
To the
So I
9 people
liked this
watching
movie.
this, to the 9 people watching this, you are the ember
Yeah.
that will get this flame going.
Contact David Zaslav.
Yeah.
Off the ground. Let's petition him now.
This is the one he'll be in its corner for.
Yeah. Batgirl, no. Demon Knight 2, yes.
What did you guys what would you give grades for this?
I'm going A-.
Hey.
Oh,
Wow.
funny. I was gonna go with A-2.
I think it's
wow.
pulpy, tongue-in-cheek fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly what I wanted.
I was gonna give it an A. So I had a
Yeah.
lot of fun with this. I think it's
Yeah, no.
one of the best January ones we've covered.
I honestly thought it was gonna be too campy, but then like it was like the right amount of camp.
Mm-hmm.
No, the
Yeah.
demons are actually scary in parts.
Yeah. And Billy Zane knows exactly what he's doing. William Sadler isn't as campy, so there's a nice difference between the two.
And I was proportionally emotionally invested in each of the characters. So like
Mhm.
each character that
true.
warranted the right amount of like sympathy got it, and the ones that were clearly like assholes and you didn't like them or just whatever, they got that proportional. Like yeah.
I did feel bad for Irene when she lost her arm. It's like
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
coming back from that. She's gonna die.
Yeah, but she took it like a champ. She started like after a few swigs
What
of
a
vodka,
Miles
she was like, walking
that
around
vodka.
just fine.
But she died doing what she loved.
You know,
sacrificing
video game
herself
rules.
for her customers.
Exploding. Yeah, sure.
It's because they're sacrificing yourself for her customers.
Yeah.
Well, she knew she had enough vodka in her to make that explodey go boomier.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeff?
I was fluctuating. I'm gonna go with an A because it's very of. I was not expecting it to be like you guys were saying. I was expecting it to be a lot campier, being it's a Tales from the Crypt thing, but like it was surprisingly. I was surprisingly invested, and they had some really clever moments, even if they were ripping off Beetlejuice.
It's one of the most well-graded films we've ever had on the podcast.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we should just be a horror podcast.
Well, this is the thing about any horror movie though, is like there are a couple different types of horror movies. This is the one where like this is the enjoyable let's go like laugh at a slasher film. Like none of this is it's all over the top, and that's what's enjoyable about it. It's not like something like Hereditary or like all of these like
Not a Robert Eggers movie.
visceral,
I mean,
Elevated horror.
yeah, I
elevated
think another
horror.
movie that would be comparable to this would be From Dusk Till Dawn. So
Mhm.
Absolutely. You're right, Jimmy.
Bordello of
like,
Blood.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
sequel, technically.
I just think it's great that we're starting off the year like we did not do it. What did we do in October? Was that a horror movie or no?
No, it's the Kellogg's movie.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
And now we're
Yeah.
doing
It's a
horror.
hard movie to some people with clogged digestive systems, maybe.
I tried to get us to do a horror film, if I remember correctly, but this was actually supposed to come out in October '94, and it got pushed a little bit, got bumped
Well, there it is.
to our benefit,
Yes.
yeah. So
Exactly.
this would have been our October movie.
probably.
Classic. Well,
What would we have had if not for this, Corey?
Oh, for this month? Well, the number 5 movie in the ranking for this month was Murder in the First.
Yeah, that
Which
makes
is-
sense.
It seems like it would be an Oscar contender based on the subject matter. Kevin Bacon plays this prisoner at Alcatraz who tries to escape, and for his efforts, he's put in solitary confinement for 3 years. And he's mistreated while the other people he tried to escape with cut a deal, and so in a fit of rage, he kills one of them, and then he's put on trial. And his lawyer is a greenhorn, which is played by Christian Slater. Gary Oldman plays a sadistic warden.
Who disappears for most of the movie.
Yeah, he's towards the beginning, then he kind of disappears until the trial.
Yeah.
They
They don't really show him being that sadistic.
a little bit towards the beginning.
Yeah.
Rewatched, and he basically cuts his Achilles heel, so that's kind of sadistic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
The movie itself, I think the direction is a little too ostentatious, it's a little too showy.
A lot of yelling.
Yeah, that and the camera just like rotates around. They get overhead shots of things. I'm like, be better if you just affix the camera in one spot and let the actors do their thing.
There was a lot of slow-mo filler,
Yeah,
like contemplating why I'm in jail.
right.
I watched this too for the podcast.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I had never seen it.
I don't think Christian Slater's the best fit for the role.
It's what they thought in '95 as well. I thought it was fine, but he didn't get much to do. It could have been anyone,
Right.
not necessarily Christian Slater's fault.
I feel like, and we're gonna probably talk about this throughout the '90s if this podcast continues in the 2000s. Kevin Bacon is severely underutilized as an actor.
Mhm.
He doesn't get enough credit. But yeah, I think they probably could have because the beginning almost turns into like misery porn. It's like I don't want to sit through this, man, being abused for this long.
Mhm.
There's a reason it was pushed to January in retrospect.
This also seemed like Oscar bait that could have been October or November, and definitely got bumped as well.
Yeah. Number 4 is Higher Learning.
Mm,
John Singleton's follow-up to Poetic Justice.
lower than I thought you would. And Boys in the Hood, which we covered in '91.
Yeah. Well, upon rewatching it, it's a bunch of intersecting stories at this one college, and they all play stereotypes.
Yeah.
The first scene with
Christy Swanson.
Kristen Swanson. She gets into an elevator with Omar Epps, and she's like clutching onto her purse. I'm like, yeah, I get
And he
it.
rolls his eyes.
Yeah, I'm like, she's afraid white lady again.
Listen, I know this is kind of mundane now, but a lot of these stereotypes in this movie were new to idiot white audiences in '95.
I understand that.
So
It
I think that's
hasn't
why.
aged well, yeah, it hasn't really aged well. And honestly, some of the stories just aren't that interesting. The Michael Rappaport story is not.
Oh, you didn't like him turning into a skinhead?
No. Well,
Yeah, that's right.
It's not done convincingly. I think Cole Hauser's really good in the role.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. They gave it shows how much affection he had for Ice Cube because he's given like the best introduction scene.
And every line he had was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought he was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, you're right. The movie's just a little meandering.
I did like Lawrence Fishburne's accent.
He's playing like a James Earl Jones type character.
You can tell he's trying to be like Sidney Poitier in Mr. Tibbs.
Oh yeah, sure.
Not Mr. Tibbs. What's the teacher?
To Sir with Love.
Yeah, I forget the character in To Sir with Love, but
I forget.
Tibbs is in the Heat of the Night.
Number 3 is Miami Rhapsody, which is David Frankel's attempt to do a equatorial Woody Allen movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it look and sound like a Woody Allen movie, but a lot of the plot revolves around people in relationships debating whether they should get married or not, people having extramarital affairs, and they do a lot of flashbacks and cutaways for jokes. And I'm just like, this is such a pale imitation.
And Sarah Jessica Parker getting shocked that people are
Honestly,
in affairs.
Did you watch it?
I did, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah. I felt like this was like a test run for Sex and the City for her. And she's good in the movie. I just think the material's weak.
Yeah. I like Gil Bellows.
As the fiance, yeah, he's
Yeah.
good. Actually, we just come to 11:45.
He's also in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. So actually he had a
Significant.
pretty good year.
Yeah, this is his big breakout, because then he'll get Ally McBeal in a few years.
Right.
But he never really made it. I feel bad because
Sadly.
he's got some charm.
Number 2 is Far From Home.
I can't believe this got
It's gonna be
this
this high,
high.
didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think it was gonna be this high.
I thought you'd like Higher Learning. I actually liked Higher Learning.
It's just it's disjointed. Far From Home actually was surprisingly a good adventure movie with Jesse Bradford and his dog
Thank you.
after a shipwreck. Yeah, Jesse Bradford's actually a way better child actor than we realized.
Mhm.
As an adult actor, he's fine, but as a child actor, geez, between this and King of the Hill,
Mm-hmm.
would have thought he would have had a huge career after this, but then he started doing stuff like Swim Fan in the 2000s.
Yeah, I think he just
He
wasn't
sabotaged himself.
getting the right parts.
Yeah.
He shows up on West Wing and he's decent, but it's a small role.
I mean, to think about it, he's herniated with all the heavy lifting in the movie because he has to interact with a canine.
Yeah, the whole time.
So basically, it's him speaking out loud, like everything they have to do. He's
Yeah, it's
doing
like-
dialogue to himself.
It's like Han and Chewie together.
Yeah, like he's got to do it in a way where it doesn't come off seeming ersatz. So
Hey, dog, do you want to go over the river now? Yeah, like
hey, I think if we go over this terrain, stuff
Yeah.
like that, it's almost
Hey.
like Lassie. It's like Lassie.
right. It moves the plot along without being obvious. I think this is an underrated film, but I was always a big fan of dog movies because I had a dog as a kid. And shortly after this came out, my aunt and uncle moved to London and they couldn't take their dog for some arcane British rule. Because they also didn't know how long they'd be there. So they didn't want the dog in the kennel the entire time they were in London for no reason. So they're like, we could be gone a few months. So if you take care of our dog for 95 and we'll be back hopefully in 96. And they actually ended up staying there 2 years, but we ended up with a yellow lab and the dog in Far From Home. It's Far From Home, The Adventures of a Yellow Dog. So I think I must have seen this after it was on tape and probably watched it once we had Sandy in the house. So as a kid, I was like, oh, they made a movie about Sandy essentially. And I thought I would be that kid. We'd go off on adventures in the woods and
Well,
stuff.
you don't want to go off on the adventure he has.
No, it gets very stressful.
Yeah, it's harrowing.
Yeah.
My number one's gonna come as no surprise. I'm surprised this got released in January. It's Before Sunrise. It's the beginning of a trilogy that started between Ethan Hawke, Richard Linklater, and Julie Delpy, and it is scintillating dialogue. And for the most part, it sounds like they would workshop it in the morning, improv during the day, rehearse it, and then film it.
That
But it
makes
feels
sense.
so naturalistic.
There's a moment where there's a rabbit running through Vienna in a park, and Julie Delpy's like, oh, look, a rabbit. And you can feel like they had the camera and they're like, oh shit, a rabbit's coming. And they had already started walking down the hill. So when the camera pans to them, she's just like, look, a bunny. And she's so
Yeah.
her genuine exuberance at seeing a live rabbit, they kept it in.
Right.
and then they continue with the scene like it's natural that they're just like walking through the town.
Yeah.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
watched this as well, obviously. So
It's an amazing movie. It's hard for me to say which one of the trilogy is my favorite. This might be my favorite. I'm not sure.
I've only watched this one so far.
But if you're not in the dialogue heavy movies, actually, even if you aren't, I think you'd still be enthralled by the conversations they have because it doesn't become too academic or esoteric. They talk about universal things that I think people can relate to. There's a great one where I think it's midway through the movie where a palm reader comes over to the two of them, and it actually distills the two personality types between the two because she's very idealistic and open-minded, and he's very cynical. And it's funny because as the movies progress, you're like, I can see how this might be problems in a continued relationship between the two of them because they have two different ideologies.
Yeah,
it's cool to watch these movies evolve. But even going back to this, the whole time you're rooting for them, and the movie ends on an ambiguous note. But I mean, obviously they answered it with 2 more movies.
Right, which I don't know what happens yet for those two. I'm gonna try and watch them soon so I can see the whole trilogy. We're not gonna wait till 2034 to watch.
Yeah, and if they were gonna do another, they were gonna do a 4th one. They're over the time gaps that they used for the previous movie.
Were they arbitrary? That's the one question I have because it was 9 years later, and then they happened to
between those two.
Yeah, it felt like they just happened to do 9 years later for the first sequel, and then because of that, they did 9 years for the second sequel.
That's true. It might have been arbitrary at first.
Because the ambiguous ending sort of lends it to be any time, and we're just catching up with them 9 years later.
Right. But I don't think they would do anything that seemed inorganic.
Right.
I think from interviews I've seen with them, they cherish this trilogy and they know it's something special.
Right. It's really cool. Very easily one of the best romance movies. It definitely met my expectations.
Okay, so you agree.
Yeah, we pretty much had the same order. I'd switch Miami Rhapsody and Higher Learning, though.
Okay.
This is the first time I watched all the movies you said you were going to watch.
Wow, yeah, that was crazy. You had something to say about all of them.
I had nothing to do this week, so.
That's not going to happen for next month, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
But that brings us to Jeff's time to shine.
Oh, man.
Yay. Time to wake up,
now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was back in my crib.
Oh, God.
Oh, sorry, that's last month.
Hey, that's not it.
Hey, I've got some thoughts about this.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Off the top of your head?
Not the title, no, but I can recognize the poster.
Yeah?
For some reason. Well, yeah, I don't know what the movie is, but
Okay.
Okay. So it's a white sky background, and there's a white family of 5 and their Rottweiler looking up as they open a mailbox, and a not white head is popping out of it, presumably for mischief.
Presumably.
And I think I know. Well, presumably because
Wait.
I'm pretty sure that's Sinbad.
That would be right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tristan,
Now-
real quick, would you call this movie whitewashing?
Is that supposed to imply the title, or because I rubbed their faces?
Yeah, and like this black guy coming out and like you wiped his face clean, so like
didn't
is it
censor
whitewashing? No.
You didn't
Still
censor
Did you just
Sinbad.
whitewash a black man?
He's
You
still
didn't censor-
Sinbad. I didn't make him white.
Right.
I mean, like,
He didn't bleach his skin.
but like
Yeah.
you
I know
washed
what you're
his
trying
face.
to you're trying to bait me with.
But he
Yeah, I
also
know.
he didn't
And you're
censor
almost
the
taking
dog's
it.
face because he knew that none of us would know what the dog's name was.
Yeah,
So-
thank you. Now, do you
Yeah,
know who the
the
other
dog
person
man's
is?
best friend.
It
you
would
know.
have been funnier if you censored the dog's face with the cat face.
That's true.
That's
Do you know-
Ah, missed opportunity.
Do you know
Yeah,
who the other
cheated.
person is before we
cat's
move
got-
on with
Okay,
this
I think
plot?
the dude, I want to say Phil Hartman.
Oh man,
Oh
you're too good.
my
I was
God.
gonna
Did
give you
how
some
did
help.
not see this, Jeff?
Well, you could see his furrowed brow. His brow was
I
eternally
do,
furrowed.
I recognize his forehead, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I was worried you would get that, but I was
I
gonna give
swear
you
to
some.
God, I've never I don't know what movie this is. It looks
So-
like a shitty remake of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
So before we move on with that, that actually was kind of close. I was gonna give you some help if you couldn't get Sinbad. I kind of left his goatee in there so you get it, and Phil
Yeah, that's
Hartman's
why.
furrowed brow. But here's some help if you need it.
What the fuck?
Does this help at all, Jeff?
Perfect. That's better than the cat.
that actually that certainly revamps the motivation. of the beasts. All of them are Rottweilers now.
Thank you.
This
So
is a
now you
much
know
better
it's
movie.
Sinbad and Phil Hartman. I don't need to know who the other people
I
are,
give
unless
a-
you could tell who they are, but I have no
I
idea.
have no idea. Who those
I don't know if it even says at the bottom there. I know Jeffrey Jones is in this. That must be Kim Greist or Greist.
That's the wife.
Yeah, yeah. I know the name, but I don't know who that is.
She was in Throw Mama from the Train. She was in Chud.
Okay, yeah. Stuff I've never seen. So you were kind of close, I think. Right, Cory? With the plot? It's basically coming to dinner, but for the 90s.
No.
Okay.
It's not like he's trying to date one of their daughters. That would be creepy.
Yeah.
This is
Do you
teenage.
want to guess before Cory gives it away?
I want to say this is like
The mailbox is
I don't know. The
perfect.
mailbox seems significant, so he's like a mail order. Husband is weird.
And what
he's
you
just-
could have been
or-
veering towards could have been worse.
or he's just the mailman, just terrorizing this family with.
He already did that in Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that's right. He was the mailman.
It's the postman.
Yeah.
It is funny that they're both in Jingle All the Way after this.
The postman coming.
You're right.
Why did
They
they
were
do two
both
movies together?
Well, you know what it is. They're like, hey, I'm doing this other project. You guys want in?
Do you think they're friends? Or were friends?
Well, they ain't friends no more.
Yeah, all right.
I feel
You're
like they
saying
were.
Sinbad
feel
could have
like-
saved him.
I feel like Sinbad had a hard time making friends, so he probably hung on to whoever he could.
Yeah.
Dark.
Keenan wants nothing to do with him.
Anyway, this guy comes to town, and I think it's like a neighborino situation
Mhm.
where he's just an annoying neighbor.
You definitely think that from this poster. This poster is completely misleading.
Yeah. Is this a Unabomber comedy? Like, is he just
Again, that was Jingle All the Way. You had a bomb.
That's true, actually. I
mean, the movie's a
appreciate the
bomb.
effort, but I guess
Deb
this is not
Kaczynski.
what we both thought it was. Because I legitimately thought that was the plot, the one you're coming up with. And from this poster, that's what I think I'd give you points for that, just for trying your best.
You may
That's what
give
I
him
do.
the
Yeah.
plot before he guesses the title.
Yeah, give the plot, because then there's above the mailbox is a really boring tagline, and then there's a tagline below it that I'll have you try to guess based on the plot.
Okay.
tagline? You've got mail. Wait,
Mm.
different movie.
So Sinbad plays like this flim flam man who's on the lam from the mob that he owes money to. So he's trying to get away at the airport, and he overhears Phil Hartman saying that he's waiting for the arrival of his black friend that he hasn't seen since summer camp when they were kids. So he poses as his black friend from back then.
Oh my god.
Very convenient.
Yeah.
That's such a weird
Look at
arbitrary
Jeff's
plot.
eyes. I was like, what the fuck?
It seems like
We're in
is this like the-
January.
is this like
Yeah,
the
this is
toy?
January.
Is it like the toy again?
Him buy him, thank God. I thought you were gonna say that was the plot.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about catchphrases, Jeff? What would you do for that plot?
That's a catchphrase for this.
A blast from the past
Hey,
that
was a better.
just didn't last.
I like that it rhymed. I'm gonna give you points for that. We'll move on.
There you go.
They were just your average uptight suburban family until Kevin Franklin stepped into the picture.
Yeah, why are they calling them out for being uptight?
Well, was it this fat shaming tagline at the bottom?
He came, he ate, he stayed.
Well, listen, it's different now. Maybe he ate.
House guest? Is it called house
You know?
guest?
Oh my
What is
God,
it?
how'd you know that?
Wait, really?
Mm.
How did you get that?
Hell yeah. Okay, I don't know. It just
It's-
seems like
It's in your subconscious, I guess.
Wow.
It makes sense after he came, he ate, he stayed. It was like, oh, it's just like a house guest who overstayed as well. Oh, it's house guest.
Yeah,
Mm.
Wow.
yeah.
He came to the logical conclusion.
I
Good job.
followed that train all the way to the station.
You can be an executive.
He did an elevator pitch for this back then. I know he did when he was like 10 years old. He did that. He's trying to be Imagineer and
He
said,
turned
like
7 in 4 months.
95. Yeah, 95. It would have
Still
been
6.
6. Yeah.
well, he's
Yes.
trying to be an Imagineer and he sent him this script idea.
I was just old enough to understand Sinbad's comedy.
and then a year later, it was too late.
Yeah.
That shelf life was short.
Yeah. Oh, Sinbad. So, not a good movie, I guess.
It's fine. It's mediocre. He does a lot of his motor mouth shtick, which I could tell there's a lot of scenes where they try to lean on him like he's Robin Williams to do a lot of improv.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge miscalculation because Sinbad's not nearly as funny.
Mm.
You know what? Surprisingly, despite a lot of the comedy misfiring, they do have good chemistry, the two of them.
That's
So
probably
maybe-
why they
Maybe they did become
Maybe.
friends on set.
yeah, maybe. What were his big movies, Sinbad? Because I'm blanking. Obviously, there's
Burger.
Jingle
Well, there was the
First
movie where he
First
was just a
Kid.
genie.
First Kid. That's the big one I saw. Okay.
First
I
Kid.
just completely forgot what Sinbad did.
He just did a
I
lot
mean,
of comedies.
And I feel bad. I feel bad raking him over the coals here. Like he's a fine actor.
He was funny for what he was.
He provided some classic moments.
he
I
was
mean-
of an era.
He actually is funny in Jingle All the Way.
I like that movie.
Oh hell yeah, he was in Good Burger too. I still have to see that. He was also in an episode of Atlanta.
That's right.
Hmm. That's like the last thing he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the original Good Burger. Yes.
I don't
Or-
remember him in that.
That was
I don't
another-
really remember that
just
movie
not-
though.
That movie just stopped so he could do a comedic bit.
Hmm.
I gotta go back and watch that one.
Nah.
Mm.
So we were trying to think of who we could do for picks of the month, and I also thought maybe we could do our favorite horror film, but there's always a chance we could do another horror, right? Plus,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
kind of stick with the people. We're people of the people. So
We're not people.
Jimmy thought since Bill Sadler never gets his time to
Yeah.
shine, this was
Yeah.
his probably most significant role, especially as a leading man. So we thought we'd look into William Sadler's filmography and pick our picks of the month from that. So I'll give
I
you a
got-
second to think. I know Cory had it an hour ago.
I had it. And it's a really significant role for him too, and he's great.
Yeah, what's that?
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He
Oh, I
plays
knew
the
you.
Creeper.
I knew you were gonna
Nasty.
pick that. Yeah,
Yeah. And he comes back for the sequel.
he's death.
Yeah.
I know what Jimmy's gonna pick.
He's got a
So what
great
am I
rep-
gonna pick? What do you think I'm gonna pick? You
Your
think you
pick
know me
for
so well?
best picture a month ago.
Yeah, probably Shawshank. Yeah, because I when I see his face, I just think of him in a jail library listening to some blues or
That's
country,
true.
whatever it is he's listening to, and he's just like humming along.
He's
or
in the
whistling.
Green Mile as well.
Yeah, it's a smaller
yeah.
role though. I was trying to think if that would be my pick, but he's just the father of the girls that are killed, right? Yeah, he and Paula Malcolmson, who plays Wyatt Earp's wife in Tombstone, they're the parents of the kids that Percy's accused of killing. Or John Coffey, not Percy. Percy's
John
Percy's the other jailer.
My God, he was the president in Iron Man 3.
He sure was. I brought that
Oh,
up
yeah,
when we
no, he
watched
was.
this.
Forgot about that.
Because your boys didn't know who he was. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
seen Iron Man 3? That's what they know him from. That'd be
Right.
their pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Machete Kills.
Oh, thank God. I
What
didn't know
that?
what else I'd have. I'm going with the Mist. Yeah, he's a big Frank Darabont guy. He would cast
That's a myth.
William Sadler in a bunch. Yeah, that's my pick. The Mist.
That's a great movie.
He was also in a couple episodes.
That's a
of
horror
Homeland,
movie.
back
Hmm.
when we used to watch Homeland.
He's in Homeland.
Yeah, he's in 3 episodes of Homeland.
At what
He's
point?
the villain
Really?
In
Oh,
Die
sorry.
Hard
Hard.
2.
He played Michael Higgins in 3 episodes.
I wonder when.
I don't know.
Villain in Die Hard 2, and you get to see him completely nude in the first scene he's introduced.
That's true. Thank you for bringing that back.
Got to show the
He's doing
goods.
Tai Chi.
He is often on my list of people you may know on Facebook.
He was
That
in
keeps
season
coming up for
3.
some reason for me.
He was in
Well, you're
season
very
3. Well,
you're very
we know,
formal with him.
we know a bunch of actors.
You just
Yeah,
called
we know
him.
some actors, so
But he was in a couple episodes in season 3. Yeah, that's all.
There you go.
Oh, look at the guy.
yeah. Two
Yeah.
mutual friends.
Red Wheelbarrow.
Maybe cover him again with disturbing behavior.
That's true. That could be a good one to cover. I like our picks though. Yeah.
They're good picks.
And plus we might be doing Billy Zane next year, so that could be when we get to Billy.
Well, I hope so.
I've been talking about this for years, so I've wanted to see
Love
this
that movie.
anyway.
He also returns in Bordello of Blood
As a different character.
as the mummy.
It's the wraparound segment.
Oh, okay. So he does a John Larroquette for us.
Yeah.
Yes. You won't recognize him because he's wrapped up in bandages anyway.
Sure. So that could have been anybody.
Yeah,
It's
basically.
like all the work Casey Affleck did in A Ghost Story.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Well,
next month we're gonna be checking out some. We're gonna be going to summer camp a little early. I don't know if it's a summer movie technically, but it came out in February. It was a kids movie. So this is one of the kids movies I missed back in the day.
Oh,
You guys
yeah.
may have seen Ben Stiller's breakout role in Heavyweights.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't know that it's his breakout role.
Live action comedies, they don't really do much.
Yeah, like your Big Greens or Major League or
Mighty Ducks.
yeah. It was a cottage industry in the 90s, and now it's just kind of gone unless they do an unwelcome sequel on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So I mean, after Nutcrackers, I could see Ben Stiller doing heavyweights too.
Ugh.
Stick to Severance. Stick to directing. You're
Yeah.
doing it.
Mm.
You're doing well
good.
there.
Ooh, that reminds me. I gotta catch up on that.
That debuted yesterday. I said I
I
would
know.
catch up back in December. I did not. So yeah, check us out next month when we take on Fat Camp. That's gonna be great. That's what the plot is, right? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll see.
If it wasn't, that would be problematic. Like you said.
It would be. All right. See you next month.
Wow.
Maybe he actually is a terrible person.
Good, good. Let's not run away with that that mentality.
All right, fine, bye.